Thank you and welcome. The breadth of challenges Wipro Technologies, JK Cement, and Birla Carbon have faced in the last couple of years and how they have solved it is truly inspirational. Congratulations to these organizations for solving these complex challenges and creating a huge impact within their organizations. I'm so excited to bring into the conversation with thought leaders and innovators from three Concur customers and our very own CFO. These companies have used SAP Concur solutions and expertise to creatively tackle the challenges of the recent years and emerge even more successful. They not only advanced their business goals, they went above and beyond to build trusted communities for their employees and wider stakeholders. I'm honored to welcome to the stage Pooja, Chauhan, Harish, Singh, Satyawan, Parate, and Sandeep, Ujire.
I've been in the industry for about 25 years now, and this is my 16th year in SAP. I've seen various roles in SAP, starting from doing an AP, GL, accounting, so on. So today I've grown into this role. So at least I know the nitty-gritties of accounting and what it takes, what is the pain that people go through. So I have seen all of these in these.
I have been in this space for more than 2 decades now, and with the current organization, which is JK Cement, I've been there for 4 years now. I lead their talent management, digital initiatives, and HR operations.
I'm Harish Singh. I'm with Wipro for last 2 years. 25 years in the industry. I was always a banking technologist. So just shift the gear, come to the vendor side of it. I'm enjoying the role over here. It's a free world in IT industry.
And I'm very, very excited about this diverse panel. So we have somebody from the finance organization, IT organization, and HR. So pretty much almost all the functions are represented.
And it's a deadly combination.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a deadly combination.
And maybe I have chosen the right place to sit. Between CFO and HR.
Yes.
That's the right place indeed. Yeah, so Pooja, we're going to start with you because JK Cement has recently gone live on SAP Concur, and big congratulations to you on that. We
Thank
did
you.
celebrate, a couple of months earlier, and that was very exciting.
December is when we went live.
It was great to see all the excitement in room and all the standees, etc., which you had created for your employees to feel excited about this. And so the question would be that customers usually have like a range of outcomes in mind when they are considering, solutions or platform like SAP Concur for spend management transformation. So what were the outcomes you had in mind?
All right. So from an outcome perspective, and to keep it very simple, so we thought that we'll have, we said that it will be our ELCG goal. And E was experience, because we wanted to have a very efficient and very effective employee experience. L was learning, because we wanted to adopt whatever is the best practice available in the organization, outside JK Cement, of course. C was contribution. We wanted to create governance, which is good governance, and we are able to kind of, learn and relearn from our own governance system. And G was grow, because we are in the process of growth. So we wanted a solution which is scalable and which can create the uniform, similar experience across all geographies we spread our wings in. So these were, the essential outcomes, and also not officially recorded, but, our sales team was very, very unhappy with, the cycle time of payments, and, they used to feel that, there is some gap which is happening between when they submit expenses and when they get expenses. There are deductions happening, but they are not aware as in why is it happening, how is it happening. So, that transparency was very important to be created for them. So we were on an in-house system, and probably, there were gaps which we could identify. So from a goal perspective or from an outcome perspective, these were the things which we were very, very clear on, experience being on top of it, and governance being the second one.
And I think if you, what I would very strongly encourage all of you to do is just, catch a hold of Pooja, the way they have implemented. and the way they envisioned the transformation of the business process. And just to use the best practice approach was very commendable. And that's why the results have definitely, translated into, sizable outcomes for your organization is what I would, say.
Definitely.
Yeah, so now, let's hear from our very own SAP India CFO, Sandeep. So we would like to know what are your current business priorities and focus areas, and what do you think is the role CFO can play today in the business transformation and business growth?
Yeah, sure. So for the first priority is for me to do business partnering. I think Ashwani was saying today that MD asked me to do business. So my job is to see how I can help you do business. So that's my first priority. So I think today we don't see CFO as somebody who's just restricted to books of accounts, accounting and audits and so on, because our job is much, much wider. And so I put business partnering as the first thing, and how do I bring value to MD? How do I bring value to business? How do I enhance customer experience? So that is the first priority for me. The second one is compliance. This is something that cannot be compromised. So one of my previous managers used to say, in compliance, 100 is 100 and 99.99 is 0. I think I just follow that simple approach. So you are either 0 or 100. So,
Yes.
so we just need to follow that. So that's compliance for me. And again, today we see a lot of acts being coming in. The data privacy law that is coming in. Then we have the cyber security, the certain law. So as a CFO, I will be responsible for everything. I need to be compliant. So that is the second priority. The third one for me is transformation. So transformation is something that is a continuous process that will be an ongoing journey. So my job is to see how I can accelerate that. How do I invest in the right technologies, right set of people, and how do I keep that journey going on? Because if you don't do that, if I stay behind, then I become redundant. I think then I'm not required. So that is the third one for me. And fourth is the one which I see many corporate leaders talking in all the forums. This is about ESG, about the sustainability. So we need to see as corporate citizens, what can we do to help decarbonization? What can we do about that? And these days I'm hearing a lot about green ledger. So I need to see what is the green ledger? How can I measure these carbon emissions? And the last one for me, and not the least, but it is about talent attraction and retention. Today that is becoming a major challenge. I'm sure many of us will agree on this, because getting a talent and retaining them, because today's generation, I see that within like months they are like bored. We need to give them more and more challenges. We need to keep them motivated. So I would think these are the 5 priorities if I had to pick the top 5. And coming to business transformation, I think today CFO plays a very major role, because CFO is somebody who is spending time to see what sort of innovation are we investing in, what sort of people are we investing in, and he is the key decision maker in terms of that investment. And he's somebody who is supposed to safeguard the money. So it's important that he measures that and he see what is the ROI on that. So that way I feel CFO today plays a vital role in transformation.
Thank you for that, Sandeep. And I think the thoughts which we hear from all the other modern CFOs who are running large, successful organizations, their viewpoints are not very different from yours. And again, I would encourage all of you to maybe catch hold of Sandeep and maybe talk about what SAP is doing on the sustainability side with respect to employee spend management and beyond as well. And with that, Mr. Satyawan is also here. I would request you, Satyawan, to come to the stage, please. And Harish, as you rightly mentioned, you're sitting at the right place. And what we've seen is that we've been working with you and your team. Wipro has been on a transformation journey, which definitely included consolidating a lot of internal applications, upgrading and replacing them for an organization which has more than 200 employees spread across the globe. So what were the objectives for the global spend management transformation which you recently took at Wipro? And what were yours and your team's focus areas? If you could just throw some light on that.
So, as you correctly mentioned that we have become enablers, correct? So let it be the CFO or the CHRO or the IT, we are all enablers for the business. So we embarked on a journey where we had a 3R concept, 3R concept, where we were talking about retiral, we are talking about re-platformification, and we were talking about remediation. So when we spoke about re-platformification, we thought of app modernization and simplification. That was the key mantra when we went into and saw that one of our portal, which is the travel portal, is a legacy system, correct? So we wanted to move out of those legacy systems, go to more modernized application, get into Kubernetes kind of environment. So we thought we had some internal tooling which we thought of upgrading, but then when we saw SAP Concur, it is already an evolved product, what we felt, and we thought that this is the right choice to make. We did plenty of demos. I know you were part of plenty of those demos, Sumedha. And we did that and we finalized it, and I believe today it has become a very good case study for the industry, for 180,000 users to be onboarded on that and using SAP Concur. So
Absolutely, that has been very, very commendable. And again, what I would recommend you to speak with Harish on, like if you are planning to change your custom applications. So how did they do it? What is the approach they followed? And they, of course, made it very, very successful for a global rollout. And we also created a very elaborate business case. So again, that is another point or another, discussion point you can sort of start with Harish. And with that, Satyawan, let me sort of get to you. Birla Carbon has been a Concur customer for 5 years now, and big congratulations on your accounts payable digitalization initiative. So would you like to, elaborate on your experience in the last couple of years, and what were the challenges you were trying to solve with SAP Concur?
Let me first thank you for having me here. I'm very sorry that there was some confusion. I was escorted to the other place where the parallel session is happening. So sorry for being late here for this session. Yeah, my name is Satyawan. I'm a part of Birla Carbon. I'm currently heading a digital and IT initiatives for supply chain, financial transformation, and digital manufacturing, which is essentially Industry 4.0 initiatives. Birla Carbon, it's a global organization having presence in 12 different countries, and we manufacture innovative and sustainable carbon black, which is a main ingredient for tire industry, paint, and coating, ink, and toner. And there are specialized applications such as energy systems. As regards our Concur experience, so as I mentioned, we have operations in 12 countries. So we have already implemented Concur for 7 countries, and we have been using it. And we have planned to roll it out to the remaining parts of the globe. Yes. So with regards to the experience about the Concur, so Concur T&E, it has a travel and expense. So we have just implemented the expense part of it. Still, we need to implement the travel, that is travel desk, integrating the whole Concur ecosystems in the application. When we started this project, we had a very definite objective in terms of what business outcome can we deliver out of this implementation. So we had user experience at the top of our mind, the efficiency, and then the speed. So right from capturing the expense, submission of the expense, and then the processing has been so easy because the way user interfaces are developed using Concur, they are quite intuitive, very friendly, and very simple. Because I joined Birla Carbon just a year ago, and I put my first expense without even asking anyone. I mean, that is my experience, right? And the speed with which it gets processed is the day I submit my expense, the same day it get approved, and probably in 1 or 2 days, based on the processing cycle in the backend SAP system, I get money in my account. So that is the speed with which we operate, and that could be that has been possible because of the Concur. So that is what I saw myself, that we have achieved user experience, we have achieved the speed with which, and then of course there is a compliance part of it, because all the policies, because since we are the global organization, each country has its own policy. They are very different than each other. So we could deploy those policies very easily, and while a person submits the expense, that person comes to know whether it is within the policy, outside policy, are there any exceptions, and that forces that person to submit the expense as per the policy so that it get approved automatically without having to touch that by anyone else. So it's an auto approval if it is within the policy. So that is the experience that we got.
Right, thank you so much for sharing your inputs. I do agree that like whatever money you are spending out of your pocket, every employee wants to get it as soon as possible and with minimal effort while being compliant. So it is very, very close to an employee's heart. So thanks for sharing your views on that. And now that we've heard that what were the objectives you all defined for smart, sustainable, and intelligent, efficient spend management. But considering the current macroeconomic scenario where the possibility of massive disruptions are always lurking, and no one can truly predict the future. So how did you consider the external factors while implementing the systems to make sure that it is resilient for change? And the other thing would be just, getting on to the innovation topic, and what were some of the unique use cases, innovative use cases your organization implemented to achieve the objectives we just, discussed. So Satyawan, let's maybe begin with you.
Yeah, so recently, so we are running a large program which is called Account Payable Digitization. So it's a big program, and there are multiple components in it, cut across the various business application that we have. And Concur is one of the starting point for us in terms of capturing the invoice in a digitized form. So what happens, we know that necessity is the mother of invention, and so is the COVID. And then during the pandemic situation, most of the organization had a lot of issues in terms of handling the paperwork. All right, the physical copies of the paper, and also since the employee were not in the office, it was all the more difficult for us to manage the physical paper. So that is how we thought of digitizing the whole paperwork. Now, so we are still in the process, we are supposed to go live today or tomorrow. So we embarked upon the digitalization of the invoice capture. I'm talking about the vendor invoice, right? So capturing a vendor invoice using the OCR functionality of Concur, and then the whole process flow to get it validated, approved in a very efficient manner. Because especially when you process the vendor invoice, which is not supported by the purchase order, it's very difficult because the AP person has to get a lot of clarifications from multiple people who has initiated that request, and that has to be captured in an auditable form. So the whole workflow has to be automated, and it has to be a very dynamic workflow. You cannot have fixed workflow because the information might be requested from multiple sources. And then all that information needs to be captured so that if there is an audit, all the information is there at the fingertip. So we have digitized the capture of the invoice through OCR, because the invoice can come in the paper form, it can come through fax, it can come through the mail. So all of this information gets into the system in an automated manner. So the capture, so it increases the efficiency, it helps us improve the accuracy, right, and then doing the right thing for the first time. And then, so earlier what used to happen that it used to take a lot of time. The whole turnaround cycle was very high. Now we have seen that, we have examined the turnaround time right from the good receipts or the service receipt till the capturing and the capturing of the invoices, validation of the invoices, and then integrating the validated invoices with the backend ERP system is just within 20 minutes. So that is what we have achieved. And then as far as innovation in the area, we have API-based integration, so it's almost the real-time integration between ERP and Concur that we have.
Perfect. So you are pretty much using SAP Concur for managing almost your entire indirect spend. and a pretty, unique, I would say, innovative use case. So let's keep going down this, innovation path with Pooja. So Pooja, your inputs.
Yeah, so Sumedha, your thought had two parts. So one was, the external environment and the changes, and the second
Correct.
was the uniqueness.
Yes.
So I'll pick up the uniqueness first, and then we'll move
Sure.
to the external environment. So from a uniqueness perspective, see, we are a legacy organization, right? It's a more than 100-year-old company, right? And accounting also has evolved, and accounting as a process itself has evolved. And if you see the role of an accountant, so, pehle they were seen as, more of people who would not process your claims for some reason or the other, right? To now, coming to a Concur application wherein, so the uniqueness part is that within 2 hours, my sales team get their expenses in their bank accounts. It is sitting there, and it is directly integrated from my success factors. So that is the entire employee data is there. It is flowing to Concur. From Concur, it is integrated with Yes Bank and SBI. It's a complete integration. So the moment it is, and it's totally auto-approved. So as he mentioned, if it is within the purview of the policy, it directly hits the bank account. If it's an exception, there is a 24-hour window. If it doesn't get approved, then it is deemed approved. So the exception also moves ahead. So it's a seamless system. And just think of, an experience wherein from a 45-day cycle, you have directly moved to a 2-hour cycle. So think of the efficiency and the experience it would have brought into the system. And, now, as Satyawan also rightly pointed out that, nobody wants to waste his or her time in transactions, right? So the system should be capable enough to manage it, and our sales team should have better things to focus on. So now, we can proudly say that we've supported them and rightly enabled them to do what, they should be doing. So all this scanning of invoices, etc. And we are totally paperless, so we don't ask for any bill. So if it is there in the system, we will value it. So that's where we are. On the external environment bit, see, so what we thought was as a team that we need to keep it very simple. If it is simple, it will be agile. If it is not simple and customized at every step, it will be very difficult for us that if a compliance change outside or something happens inside, then we again in that vicious circle of customization. So we said that whatever is available, let us go through that workflow. I'm sure if 1,000 organizations are using it, they are also running their businesses well. So we might also be able to do so. It was difficult to convince the CFO, right, that, why should we not customize? But then we were good in that job, so we could do so. And, it's so simple that we can probably, whatever changes we know that with you guys being there, we'll be able to manage it very well. Yeah.
Perfect. So considering your employee experience as the North Star and basically taking everybody in the organization together, which was like your CFO as a stakeholder, and then convincing him to follow the best practice simple approach. So I think this is definitely commendable, Pooja, and we've been talking about it off and on. So Harish, what are your inputs? What are your views?
So basically, when we thought of this travel application, it was very unique because we thought of a travel philosophy where we thought let's move out from a control base to a trust base. Because I'll tell you, so it's between this room only, there were 190 policies for a person to raise a travel request. We brought down it from 190 to 9 policies. So we wanted control. See, control is important. Yes. We wanted control, but we didn't want control to be a hindrance to the employee experience, user experience. So we brought down that policy. It was a fight. As you correctly said, CFO, CHRO, we had to go to the CEO level to convince everybody that let's work on a trust-based policy.
Yes.
Which helped us, to be very frank. Today, when I look back at my 180,000 users, they are satisfied.
Yeah.
Let it be in Indian users or a user in North America, they are all enjoying the seamless integration. Earlier, we were only 30% digitized. So everything was a drop on the floor. When we used to go to travel portal, we used to just tick certain checkbox and it used to go to the operations team. And everything has changed now. It is seamless for us. Now the travel booking, the hotel booking, everything has become seamless for us. And it is helping the customer experience. As she correctly mentioned, the users are the one who's benefiting. We are benefiting from the user experience. Plus, if you see the kind of productivity gain what we have encountered, we had 123 resources working in the operations when it was a drop on the floor. Because you know, Wipro is a 250,000 employees, correct? So that has been reduced to 45, 47 people now. Because we are yet to embark on another journey where we are going to APMEA and Europe region to implement Concur. But that is our journey.
So what you were saying is essentially that people who were working on all of these applications, you have reskilled them, maybe redeployed them to different
Absolutely.
projects. Yeah. And on the employee part, instead of somebody policing employees, some person policing the employees, system is able to sort of deliver all of those controls. That's wonderful. I think, wow, these were all day and night transformations, I must say. But one thing is certain, and which is change. And currently, our macroeconomic environment is again changing. The business landscape is definitely stabilizing, and it has grown over the last 12 to 8 months. And there has also been a noticeable surge in travel and expenses, across different sectors. Sandeep, you would agree with me that spending is definitely back. So what has your experience been on this? And also, how do you see Concur, very effectively and efficiently manage expenses at SAP?
Yeah, sure. So travel is back. Probably, I think it has already reached the pre-COVID level. Not necessarily because people are traveling more, but because of the increased cost. Whether it is flights, whether it is hotel, I think the costs have doubled. So that is the thing. But if I talk about benefits of Concur, maybe I'll try not to repeat what my colleague said here. So one is compliance and controls. So Concur embeds all the internal controls, internal guidelines, policies within itself. So which means all the expenses are compliant. So I don't have a headache of expenses being non-compliant, and it is within the budgets prescribed. So that is the first benefit, and second is employee experience. Now, I've been one of the sufferer of this because there was a time when even when I put my claim, it was not honored for months in SAP. So until Concur was introduced, and now we see it's happening in one day. But after hearing her, I want to ask why one day, why not 2 hours, why 1 hour? So yeah.
So that's 2 hours is the way to go there.
Correct. So obviously, I mean, even in terms of usage, it's so easy, right? You can have your mobile, you can just click photos, scan, I mean, it's all there. Third will be in terms of accruals. So when you sort of book an expense, the accrual is already there in the system. So you already know that you don't need to wait for the employee to submit his claim. You can already see the accrual. So I'm happy that my accrual is happening at the right place. And again, coming back to employee experience, like you said, I put my claim myself, I book my flight ticket myself. So it's just easy. You don't have dependencies at all. So it is that easy. And in terms of reports, so Concur gives us a lot of reports on the T&D perspective. You can see who is spending most of the amount. Are they really doing contributing to the sales? In terms of vendors, also you can see which vendor is giving what price. How can I get the best out of these vendors? And maybe even in terms of sustainability, when you book a ticket, it will show what is the carbon emission you are doing there. And if you want to opt for a better one, you book a taxi, you can go with an electric car. So similarly, choose the green hotels, so less of carbon emissions. So we are already going that path while the law is still not mandatory for at least most of the companies. So that way, I think overall, it certainly does. And of course, it has increased the productivity of employees so that I got that bandwidth to put them into somewhere else, like you said. So yeah, I think overall, Concur experience has been really, really brilliant for me.
Perfect. So Sandeep spoke about the control aspect, that is how we are using SAP for enabling all the controls within the system. He also spoke about employee experience and also about the reporting and the analytics part. So until unless you have a system which is able to give you actionable insights, you're not really getting any value out of the system. So that brings me to the next question, Harish and Satyawan, that you obviously would have integrated Concur with a lot of other systems, within within your organization to get all of those valuable insights for taking those important, very important decisions for the company when the spending is back, inflation is very high, regulatory challenges are emerging, day by day, whether it is, regulations related to your carbon emissions or so many other things across the globe. So what are some of the integration best practices you followed while implementing SAP Concur? And which systems have you integrated SAP Concur with? So maybe Harish, let's start with you and then we'll move to Satyawan.
So when you talk about integration, we took a different approach. As I told you, we are banker by heart, correct? We are banking technologists. So we believe that we should have a SOS layer. So we integrated all the APIs into this SOS layer. So it is a system of service. So we integrated all the APIs on this layer and ensured that all the 9 subsystems which are taking data will refer to this API from the SOS layer so that it becomes easier to add or subtract the integration of the applications which are happening. So this was the strategy what we...
So your integration is like a plug and play sort of a thing. That's very agile, I must say. Satyawan.
In our case, SAP ECC is the backend system where the actual payment happens. So it is seamlessly integrated using API. That is one thing. Secondly, apart from travel and expense, I'm talking about the vendor invoice. We had earlier the file-based integration, and that resulted in the lead time of 24 hours in terms of processing but now we realize that with the volume, increase in volume, and then we have transformed those integration leveraging API, and that is how we came down from 24 hours to 20 minutes of the turnaround time. But apart from this integration, I would say that there's a lot of potential in Concur that we have not yet exploited. Say, for example, integration with your partner ecosystem. See, we would see the real value of Concur can be only derived when we integrate with the partners for mobility, for travel, for airline booking, for hotel booking. So recently, and we are taking a very small step based on the specific requirement and then the priority of the business. So recently, we have integrated the card feed. So it increased the efficiency for entering the expense, because whatever expense that you make on card, that is already appearing, you have to just apply that. So we are just taking a baby step now. We have the foundation available for us, and we will be taking to the next level in terms of leveraging all the functionalities and the ecosystem that Concur has.
I'm very, very glad.
Just to add, Sumedha, the reporting part, what he was mentioning, is something which has helped us from a trust-based perspective, correct? The reports and the dashboard, what come from Concur, is highly customizable, but the base reports are also put to use. So I'm telling you, it is fabulous.
Yeah. They can't, that's like all music to our ears, you will all agree, right?
I was talking to Saurabh and other colleagues, I said the same thing, correct? Sorry.
Got it. So, but Satyawan, for you, the takeaway would be that you are enjoying using SAP Concur, but you want to get more value out of your investments. So, for that, you are looking at tapping into SAP Concur App Center platform and maybe looking at all the complementary vendors which are present to sort of, up the value game a bit, right? So, that's wonderful. And now that all of you are live on SAP Concur and you are continuing to use the platform, what is the top business outcome you would like to achieve or have already achieved to declare with like a big bang that you are truly managing your employee spend well? So we are going to start with Sandeep first, SAP view.
Yeah, sure. So for me, first one is the compliance and controls. Second one will be employee satisfaction. And third one is the visibility on the spend management. I think these are the 3 business outcomes which I was looking for and which we already have from Concur.
Got it.
So great. I will second him from the compliance perspective, because it's one of the most important thing when you talk about travel. Then obviously the user experience, and finally the cost optimization what we get because of the functionality and feature what you have, the kind of partner ecosystem what you have.
I represent the people part of the story. So though, completely resonating with what both of them said. But see, an organization is as effective as its employees, right? So if my employees are happy, then, my battle is won. So that employee experience and that, and you would not believe that since December till now, there are counted 599 congratulatory messages which have dropped in my team's inbox and, stating that, ma'am, you've made our life so easy and so simple. Like it's on the go and your mobile app is fantastic, right? It is one of the best app which we've used for any such kind of an application. So let me compliment the team who's behind this because it's actually very, very good. Right? So from an outcome perspective, the top outcome, because see, we are a manufacturing concern and for us, the people are everything, right? Because machines are machines everywhere. It's the people who make the difference, right? So for us, it has been like, if they are happy, our things are met and they are actually very happy. So that's one. Second is, because we have 11 plants, our sales operate across geographies. So what happens is it's very important that everybody sees, understands and experiences the policies in the same manner. Otherwise, what happens is there is a lot of localization which happens. So in trust-based systems, as he said, it is very easy. Right? So now, we can say and with confidence that everybody understands it the same way, everybody experiences it the same way. It's very, very important for us. So that's the second outcome. And the third outcome is our CFO is happy, HR is happy, and IT is happy. So,
And the employees are happy.
So yeah, our battle is won.
I can tell you IT is happy because less work to do. No servers, no system to manage, everything is on cloud.
On cloud, yeah.
And by the way, our product engineering folks are also here.
Yeah,
we're also doing, a lot of cutting edge work from our SAP labs in Bangalore. So
Yeah.
teams, cheers to you, boohoo.
Yeah, yes, of course. Yeah, because the app is really, really wonderful and everybody, who uses it has only and only good things to talk about it. So that's itself a compliment, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that there are 4 business outcome we thought of. One is obviously the user experience is the foremost. And employee feel very empowered when they put the expense. In 99% of the cases it goes through, hardly any touch point. So that is what it is, there's a transformation from control to trust. So that is very, very important. That is number one. Number two is efficiency, like the TAT, the turnaround time and all, that makes a lot of difference, both from the user standpoint as well as the finance people who are processing those claims. And the third thing is obviously the compliance and then the governance. And the fifth one, which is not the least one, is like contribution towards, whatever little contribution towards the ESG initiatives. We have completely eliminated the paperwork. That is, otherwise you see especially the finance people, their nightmare of handling the bunch of the paper moving from one place to other, sending through courier or scanning it, unnecessary work. It's not really needed. Most of the people, what they do is that, when they incur the expense, if it is not through the card, they just take a picture and then there itself, they post it in the expense. So they don't have to worry about and then recall what expense I have done in last week and all. So it is done kind of online. So that's a great part of it.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your experience with SAP Concur, all of you. And this is like a rapid fire kind of a round. So one final piece of advice you would want to share with your peers today. Sandeep, let's start with you.
So I think I would say be empathetic to your customers, whether internal or external. So for me, not necessarily that we address all the problems immediately. I follow the 80-20 approach. If you're able to address 20% of the issue that can solve 80% of the problem, I think I would go with that so that at least most of the people are happy, and then of course we'll solve the rest also. That is what I would think.
So I'll go with the technology part of the answer. See, when we go for a SaaS platform, we should ensure that we have either zero or very minimal customization, or we will we will kill the crux of going to SaaS. Because that is the philosophy what we are going whenever we are moving to SaaS-based application. So that is one key message.
Yeah. And also, Sandeep did mention this, in his previous point that, these dashboards, reports, etc. So how we see it as a very value outcome is that, once you see that there is a process and it is triggering exceptions. So that means the policy or the process needs a review. So it gives you quick data points with respect to if, it's again and again coming for exception. So either it's not defined properly or it's not understood properly. So it gives you those advantages of, at the click of a button, you can see if there are, trends, and those trends actually speak. And then you know that, okay, these are areas of improvement and you can work upon. So it's a beautiful product. And, as he also mentioned that as of now, from December till now, we've not been able to actually harness the full potential, and we've long way to go, I would say that. But still, whatever we've done, I think we are pretty much happy about it. So go for it, guys, if you if you want to, kind of transform. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we embark on such initiative, you will come across a lot of requirement, the laundry list from the business. And as Sandeep was saying, that you need to pick and prioritize the requirement that makes difference to the business. So you are not delivering the project, but you are delivering the business outcome, and that should be the attitude when taking this. And also you need to get your counterpart from the business who is equally responsible for delivering that outcome. And of course, a change management should not be overlooked, undermined at all. I would, given a choice, I would do over communication to that will facilitate the adoption rather than under communication. So that is just 2 cents from my side.
Thank you so much.
Sumedha, I just wanted to add a point to what he said. So while we were implementing, so we had difficult customers and, difficult processes to go through. So what we did was at each of our location, we identified Concur champions who were extension of the central team, and they essentially had an accounts guy and an IT guy. So that we know that, okay, and those were the people who were, kind of totally resisting that change, and they were made the champions, and, they were awarded also for it, and they were the people who ensured. So it was like, the monitor of the class was there, and he ensured that the class follows whatever is to be done. So that really, really helped us actually, because it was not practically possible for us to, kind of be present everywhere, but these Concur champions at every location, and that too specific picked up people really, really helped us in the adoption and the change management part of the story.
I would like to thank all of you for sharing your experiences. I'm sure our audience is going to find all of these, pointers very, very valuable for them. And I would say that these were pretty action-packed 40 minutes, and Hoshi tells me it's more than 40 minutes. So we talked about the business objectives, and we heard how our customers are putting Concur solutions to work in the most imaginative ways. And as you leave, please think about the key pillars of your innovation strategy and how to put those to action. And know that the entire SAP community is there to help you to share the right resources, knowledge, and whatever is required. Thank you very much for your time and attention today, and enjoy rest of the Fusion.